I'm Dani.
I'm Marie.
And this is Beyond the Books with Dani Marie. So we had an absolute blast.
So much fun.
Over the last several weeks.
Yeah. Recording
our vlog over A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas.
Oh, yeah.
And so, first of all, we wanted to thank all of the people that have come to subscribe and follow us and look forward to our videos every week. We very much appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
But also we wanted to give you guys this opportunity to give us some feedback. Let us know what you have liked, what you haven't liked. We really want to continue to progress forward and make this very much a thing that you look forward to, because this is for you, not necessarily for us.
We're going to do it anyways, but...
just because we like to hear our heads rattle and we like to talk about books. So, we just really wanted to give you guys that opportunity to give us some feedback, so please do that. So next, let's just dive right in. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yes.
Actually, first of all, can I point out, we are totally matching today, and we did not plan this.
She showed up here, and I was like, hey, looking good. And she was like, yeah, same color and everything. I have this in a different color. Still more gray.
I really want to buy her white one, but I digress.
Side note, yeah.
I digress. Okay, so we are going to jump into yet another Sarah J. Maas series.
Yeah. Because she's amazing.
Right.
Obviously. Yeah.
She totally is. And we really liked her writing so much with A Court of Thorns and Roses that we jumped into this other series by her, and then we have another series left to read after this.
It just feels like you can't just do one, because eventually they all
intertwine.
Yeah, so...
which is super exciting for me.
Right, we can't pass that up. We have to find out when and where,
and we have to know how. Like, how does it happen?
Yeah.
And is it a big deal, or is it just kind of like a minor little thing?
Right, like, wait, is that what we thought?
Yeah.
We'll find out.
I'm so excited. So, also, with the Facebook groups that we're a part of and that we follow, there's been a lot of really great reviews over her other books as well. And so, just because we liked her writing so much, obviously, if we liked the first series that we read by her, we figured we would like the other ones.
Right. And I wasn't, we're not disappointed. It is definitely... yeah.
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
So, we did want to take this opportunity to point out, just in case there are people out there that haven't started this series yet, or you don't know exactly where to start because there's so many books. We were recommended by a friend of ours to read Throne of Glass first. That is the first book. Then to read Crown of Midnight. That is the second book. Then to go back and read Assassin's Blade. That is the prequel book. So in these first two, you meet the main character, and then Assassin's Blade is supposed to go back and tell her story up until the point where you pick up.
Oh, yeah.
But it fills in a lot of the details.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So this is the book that I'm currently in. Yay.
Yay.
And then after you do that, then you can technically go back and pick up the third book in the actual series that doesn't include the prequel, Heir of Fire.
Yep.
So, that just kind of gives you a little indication of where to start. I have seen on the Facebook group some people recommending that you start with Assassin's Blade. And you're further along than I am. Would you recommend that at all?
You can honestly, it's one of those things, you can do it either way. Although I will say, I feel like I like knowing her from Throne of Glass first, and then Crown of Midnight, because you get to see more of like how she operates, and then there's just some things that the Assassin's Blade keys in, and you're like, oh my god. And it's one of those things where it like hits you. I definitely understand why we were recommended to read it in that order, because there's some like bombshells. And you're like, whoa, hold on.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like if you read Assassin's Blade, I'm trying not to give anything away, but if you read Assassin's Blade first, I think you'll have this idea about her, and you won't see her as like the powerful, strong woman she is, because you'll have like a certain amount of pity for her, and I feel like that clouds the vision of who she is and how strong she really is.
Right.
So I definitely agree with the reading it the way
we were recommended. So. Yeah. If you haven't started or you don't know where to start, that's kind of our recommendation. A friend, like I said, kind of told us that that's how we should read it. And so far, neither one of us have been disappointed in doing it that way. So, there you go. Okay, so my question for you is that, you know, we read A Court of Thorns and Roses.
Yeah.
This is so backwards because I read A Court of Thorns and Roses and then recommended it to you.
Yeah.
And then you started Throne of Glass before I did.
It was weird.
This is a weird dynamic
Our whole relationship, like 90% of it is me being like, so what happens next? What happens next? And this time it was like, so what happens next?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't know what to say. There's too much information. Like, too much.
So my question is, how does this series differ from A Court of Thorns and Roses?
So I've actually responded in one of the groups we follow for Sarah J. Maas ACOTAR series about this. So they're not that comparable, honestly, just because A Court of Thorns and Roses, yes, there's war, but it's more like love story intertwined with all this stuff, and this is more like this individual and like how I can't say that without giving it away, but there's all these characters that are doing what they need to do for their country and their people rather than for like the love of someone else. Like and I mean there are some people who like end up, I'm doing it for my country, and then they end up like doing it for someone they love, but it's not wrapped around a couple and their in and outs and the development of their relationship. This is definitely more like mystery and action packed than ACOTAR is. There's just so many layers to this. I mean, like every book she's in a different place, like a different like continent almost every time. So it's just definitely both fantasy. Definitely there's like love and like there's all like the smutty stuff you want. Not near as much in this one as there is in ACOTAR. But
it's not very descriptive. It just like lets you know it happens.
Right. This is a little more YA than, adult, but it's just not, I mean, they're both very good. They're not really as comparable as everybody thinks because it's not.
Right. Even though they're the same, written by the same author.
Right. I think if she would have done it that way, then it would have been like the same book all over again.
Yeah.
Right. She did like a really great job, in my opinion, of separating the two and still finding a way to have the worlds like intertwined. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So then at this particular point, because obviously neither one of us are done with the series, you have, I think, 3 books left to read.
So sad.
I know.
Oh my god.
So at this particular point where you are in the series, would you say that you like it more than ACOTAR?
Oh, probably. But everyone, personal preference and all that. I think the reason why is because I have more in common with this character than I did Feyre.
Okay.
And I think that might be why. Don't get me wrong. I love ACOTAR. It'll probably always be one of my favorites, but I would totally reread this like in a heartbeat, which I would ACOTAR too, but like it's not the same.
Right.
It's not the same.
You vibe with it on a different level.
Right. This for me, I do think that I like Throne of Glass a little better than ACOTAR, which I can't believe I'm saying out loud.
I know.
But it's just different. It's different. You'll figure it out.
Read it and you'll know.
Yeah, you'll know.
So and one of the things that we talked about the other day when we were kind of comparing them but not really comparing them, you had mentioned that like the world expansion was just different.
Oh yeah.
And like we were talking about earlier with A Court of Thorns and Roses, once Feyre gets to Prythion and after she defeats Amarantha, and like really when you're in the second book, Mist and Fury, you've really discovered almost everything that there is to discover within that series. The rest of it is the war, seeing how like the character development plays out. You get a little bit of newness whenever you get to Silver Flame and you have Nesta and Cassian.
Right, a new relationship.
Right. And that's fine. But again, it's built differently.
Right.
Whereas this, I'm on
all over
technically the 3rd book, right? I'm in Assassin's Blade, going back and rereading, but I'm 3 books into the series, and there's still so much about Selena, the main character, and so much of like the world and what's happening and what's happened in the past,
right,
that I don't know. And like we talk about this all the time, and
Oh
she'll
my
like
God.
stop herself, and she's like, I can't tell you that because you're not there yet.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my God, like how much more can I find out?
There's literally so much more.
Right.
Like, in literally every book, I feel like there's like at least 3 moments where you're like, the fuck? Like, you know,
What?
Right. Because it's literally just like you're like, there's more. You know those infomercials you wake up to at like 3 a.m. and you're like, but wait, there's more. And that's all you keep hearing in this is it in a book. It's happening. But wait, there's more. My God, like, I'm literally drowning.
So whenever I literally felt that, though, whenever I finished Crown of Midnight, because at the very end, it, like, stacks a few things together, and I'm like, but wait!
Yeah, oh my God, and everything just keeps, like, layering up. Just the development of her character, I think, is what is just, like, every time you think, oh, I gotta figure it out, you're wrong.
Although I did guess correctly about the one thing.
You did guess correctly.
We're not going to mention that because we don't want to give that spoiler away.
Because that's oh my God.
But I
did.
Such
a big one.
Okay, so that basically, like, there's this person that's mentioned, and I made a correct guess.
Yeah, and I'm not a good liar, so she knows
I literally asked, and, like, I could tell by the look on her face. She was
I am
like,
not a good liar. I instantly was like, what? No. I don't know anything about that. Yeah, listen.
So
don't ask me questions.
It's fine.
I gotta tell you honestly, I can't.
So we really wanted to just kind of talk about some of kind of our favorite points, highlights of Throne of Glass, the first book, just to really get started with this series for our vlog. So, do you want to start with how the book opens? So, okay. Endovier, I'm not really sure how to say
Endovier,
it. I think,
yeah, one of those complicated words. She just likes doing this to us. These words she knows we can't pronounce. Which actually there's a key in here that tells you how to pronounce
but
most
it's
things.
only in the first one.
Right, I don't know why that is. So ladies, look it up. Men, look it up. Whoever you are. So in Endovier, it is like literally a death camp. Can we talk about how she's 17?
Mm-hmm. 17 in the first one.
17 and in a death camp. And I think the reason it's my favorite part, like, is because later when you find out, like, all of these things, which I can't tell you because it'll give it away, but they found her in the darkest, dirtiest, deadliest place she could possibly be as a teenager. And the king's son just walks in and he's like, hey, taking this hoe with me.
Yeah.
What?
And so I think what's cool about the opening is that Sarah J. Maas does such a great job within the 3 character perspectives that she's writing from, which is the prince, the captain of the guard, and Selena. She does such a great job of building up this fear around Selena.
Oh, yeah.
The captain of this guard that is charged with protecting the prince of this whole freaking kingdom is petrified of her.
The guards at the death camp are afraid of her.
Yes, like she just within like a few chapters, she just does such a good job of setting up this fear that really we end up finding out that the whole kingdom has. The whole
everyone
kingdom
is afraid of Selena Sardothian. Yeah, because she's a
All right, so this girl, she's 17 years old, and we quickly discover, I mean, she is a badass bitch.
If I could be anybody. But I love, listen, I'm going to tell you one of my favorite parts about her is it doesn't matter what she's feeling. Eventually, that ends up turning just straight to anger, and I'm like, it's
That's
me. I literally, like, stub my toe, I'm like, like, it doesn't even matter. I could be so sad, and instantly I'm like, F it. I'm just mad. I go straight to mad.
Yeah.
I have a lot in common with her.
So, on that note, here's what I like. She's obviously a very mature 17-year-old for her age because, I mean, she's a freaking assassin. Right. She's been trained since she was 8 years old to be an assassin. Yeah. And this whole kingdom fears her. And she knows that she's a badass. And she definitely walking around. She definitely struts it. She knows.
Oh, yeah.
But what I love, which I think that this particular moment that I'm referring to isn't until Crown of Midnight, but, you know, Sarah J. Maas does a really great job of giving her, like, those moments of very childlike quality. She gets so excited over
being an actual person.
Yeah, like, she gets so excited over, like, chocolate cake.
Right.
You know, like
nice
a little
dresses.
Yes, like a little kid would, or like she loves to dress up like a little girl.
She loves luxury, which is like I think don't get me wrong, she's a woman regardless, 17 or not. She's been through it. She's a woman, right? So I think that's one of the things I agree with you that I absolutely am mad about, like obsessed with, is how all this death, her literal job is just like murder, right?
Yeah.
But she's like, I'm gonna buy like a $5,000 fancy couch and just lounge on it. Like,
right.
She's all about luxury. Like, comes home drenched in blood, strips it off, and she's like, where's my silk night suit?
Yes.
Like,
I
love it.
I love
such contrast.
Yes, I love the contrast that Sarah J. Maas brings to the table with the character of Selena. She just, again, because obviously, like, we find out very quickly that there's been some horrific things that have happened in her life.
Sweet baby Jesus.
And she, but she's still, I do like that she wants to just like spend all of the king's money that she eventually earns, and she's like, screw it, I don't care.
She's gonna buy all these things, yeah.
So, I mean, it's really great. So the whole first book,
her personable.
Yes.
Like, for a murderer, she's very personable. Like,
you literally, no matter how many people she kills, you're literally like,
Selena.
I could be friends with her.
Like, she's for sure in my circle. That was another thing I saw, is everyone was saying how well she would fit in Rice's circle. Like, her and Cassian would probably be best friends, and her and Amryn. Yeah.
Her and Amryn would be best friends.
Without any doubt, she would fit so perfectly in that circle.
Yes, for sure. So, the whole first book centers around this competition to become the King's champion. So basically, everyone on the King's Council, this is just kind of like a quick little review for those of you if you haven't read it. Everyone on the King's Council brings a champion to the table. They all compete in this series of events.
All the champions are criminals.
Yes, or thieves, or murderers.
Right, and the only way they get out of, which obviously they're the best at their craft or they wouldn't be chosen, but the only way they get out of spending life wherever they were just taken from for this competition is by winning said competition.
Right. And so then there's, like, obviously we're not going to get into it, but there's this whole kind of like dark plot going around, and
like you wouldn't believe,
and all the champions are being murdered off and stuff like that, and so it's kind of like a mystery in that regard.
In the competition.
Yeah.
Outside, like, there's a lot going on. There's so much. That's what I'm saying. Every time she'd be like, so how do you like the book? I'm like, I'd tell you, but I'd have to kill you because you gotta read it yourself. You
gotta get into it.
It's hard even doing this vlog for me because I just want to like word vomit everything. There's just so much, especially going back and reviewing Throne of Glass. Like when we're gonna talk about what we want to do for this vlog. Even then, there's all these points that like you don't know yet are gonna come back, and it's all foreshadowing. Like, and I'm just like.
We quickly find out that she's got some certain types of, like, terrified feelings about the king, which I'm told over here comes into play a little bit, like, whenever you find out a little bit more. I do like some of the interactions that happen with her and the king later on.
Yeah.
There aren't too many in Throne of Glass.
He, like, respects her darkness in, like, some of the, like, later on, but listen... That mother...
Right. That bitch.
I literally hate him more than Tamlin, and that is hard to find, let me tell you. Like,
now I'm scared to read.
You're gonna be... But
I already hate him.
I just can't even...
So, and we know that there's got to be, like, more... So at this point in Throne of Glass, we know at that point that there's got to be more to the story as to, like, why she hates the king. More than just, like, the obvious reasons that we've already picked and, like, read through the lines.
It's, like, this really weird combination of, like, she literally has to try not to, like, throw up in his presence. Like, because she gets so, like, she's angry, she's scared, she's, like, all of these emotions. And literally in the beginning, I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was just because, for one, it describes him as this huge man. Like,
yeah.
And she's small, understood, she's an assassin. I'm like, you could take him. Why are you scared? So I literally was like, I mean, how evil must he be that the scariest person alive is like in front of him?
Right.
Like, but then you find out why.
I think that, well, we'll talk about that later.
We'll wait.
So obviously though, we have this assassin, right? She's supposed to be the deadliest assassin. So Sarah J. Maas gives her a friend. In Nehemia. And we love Nehemia. So Nehemia is a princess from this other land.
Another bad bitch. Let me put that out there.
We do like her.
Yeah.
Which I love the dynamic of their relationship. I do love when they meet. So Nehemia,
they start speaking that other language.
Yes, they like talk in another language and leave the other people out of the conversation.
Yeah.
And they're literally like talking about them.
To like right in front of them. But that's another thing. Like the layers to Celaena's character. Like she's the only one in this whole dang kingdom who knows that language.
Yes.
Besides the princess. And it's like only people from there know that language. And I remember reading, I was like, now wait a minute.
Why is that?
How are you 17 and you already know this? There's just so much. I don't know what to do with it.
So, and then, there's more to that friendship that we find out a little bit later. But I just love that with that character, with the character of Nehemia and their friendship, again, you see that more personable side of Celaena.
Right. It just makes her more like the young girl that she is. Like getting to have a best friend that you like hang out with in between all this, like being a champion,
right?
Of the king,
and like and that's just further proved by the other relationships that she developed. So like obviously there's got to be a love triangle, right? And so that happens between her, the captain of the guard, and the prince Dorian, and which I'm still super upset about. We can talk about that in the next episode.
Oh,
we'll get there. But so obviously like there's this love triangle going on between them, but again, because she's connecting with all of these different people, it literally just makes her seem so much more of a literal person than a murderer.
Which is funny because Kale is like, the captain of the guard is like, don't trust it. Like, he thinks that she's faking all of these relationships. She's really just a 17-year-old trying to make it, man. Yeah. Like, she's just trying to make it. Can we talk about Caltaine for a minute?
Oh my god.
Okay. Yes. Listen, where I'm at.
Is she still alive?
Oh, she's alive.
Oh my god. Am I gonna hate her even more than I hate her now?
For a split second, and then you're gonna be like cheering her name.
Okay.
There's just, when I tell you, so I thought ACOTAR was the most layered, like, intertwining, like, envelop you into a whole, like, book I've ever read. I was wrong. It's this one. I was wrong. Because there's just, to every, like Rice, he had, like, multiple layers that made him the character he was. Every single character in this book has so many layers. Like, I'm drowning.
Mind blowing.
I'm literally drowning. I'm drowning in them.
Mind blown.
And there's Fae in this. So that's like, I don't know why that just like lit my heart up whenever it said like something about the Fae and like them being alive. And I was like, no. Like,
right.
No.
Right. No.
Yeah.
Which is so funny because, okay, let me just back this up and we're going to get off topic just a little bit, but I promise it has a point. So,
I promise.
I do this a lot. So whenever I was first recommended A Court of Thorns and Roses, so I'm going to back this up because I know that most of you have heard my story of my sister recommending that book to me. I was actually recommended that book originally by a friend that I went to school with. And, she kind of gave me like a quick synopsis, but she told me it's about fairies.
So you think like nice and sweet.
Now, let me be clear. I have read other books that are not specifically about fairies or fae, but they have fairies and fae in them. And they were okay. Not like obviously the best books I've ever written. I can't even remember the name of like the specific one that I'm thinking about right now.
Insignificant. Like,
I mean, wasn't bad. I remember the storyline,
but it wasn't no Sarah J. Maas, was it?
Right. So I blew it off, didn't listen, right? And then my sister read it, and she was like, no, seriously, Kristen, like, you've got to give it a try.
On your list.
I know what you're thinking, but it was a lot better than what I thought it was going to be. So I read it, right? And I fell in love with it. And so, like, it's just, I know whenever I tell people, well, it's about fae, people get a little weird.
They're like, oh.
But it's not like any other fae book like you've ever read.
If the way I tried to describe it to my husband is like, if you could make fairies sound like some bad motherfuckers, put them in war, put them in sex, put them in all this. He was like, what are you reading? And I was like, exactly. Exactly! Like, as action-packed as a fairy story comes, like...
Also, let me just point out that I made a deal with my husband that if I watched...
She's got a tattoo
Game of Thrones, that he would read A Court of Thorns and Roses. And so... I just finished season 1 of Game of Thrones last night.
For those of you who have seen that, you know how she's feeling.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Because I've never watched it.
The drama.
I know that that's crazy for a lot of you because it was such a big hype thing.
I didn't watch it until after it wasn't popular anymore.
I was very turned off by the fact that it was like...
A little rapey?
Well, a little bit, yes, but also, like, just the hype surrounding it. Like, everybody was getting all crazy about it, and I was like, why are you guys freaking out over
I didn't start it until after the hype ended. When everybody was pissed off about how the whole thing ended, I was like, all right, I'll read it. I'll watch it now.
Yeah,
now I'll watch it. Let's see if y'all have a right to be mad about it. Like,
so my husband's been literally bugging me forever, ever and ever and ever to watch Game of Thrones, and I always tell him no. And so then the other day he was at work, and because we had made this deal about watching, if I watched it, then he would read A Court of Thorns and Roses. I was like, okay, he's not home. There's no pressure. I'm gonna watch the first episode.
Oi, the drama. Oh, is that where the kid falls?
Yes.
Oh, that's...
Bran.
Oh, but you don't know what happens. Oh, I love knowing things you don't know.
It's terrible. I hate it.
I love it.
So... I know we totally got off topic. They're talking about Game of Thrones, but,
Well, but that's another way that I explained ACOTAR and Throne of Glass. Just Sarah J. Maas's writing, I tried to explain to my husband because we watched Game of Thrones together. I was like, if you mixed Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, and, like, listed off all... Oh, and, what's the one? The Hunger Games and Divergent. If you mashed all of those together, it would equal most of Sarah J. Maas's writing.
Yes.
And
that's the other point that we were going to bring up is about her creativity. Like, how does one... Okay, so back it up because...
Pull it back.
We enjoy writing.
Correct.
Okay, and we were working towards authorship one day.
It's on the table.
It's on the list for like 10 years from now.
Right. We're working on it.
However... And, like, we have some pretty good ideas, like,
we have great ideas.
But I don't understand.
Like, it takes two of us.
How does she come up?
As one individual.
Sarah.
How do you do it?
SJM. Baby girl.
Yeah.
Baby girl. I need you to lay on me your wisdom.
Right.
Because
all of these worlds.
And, like, the language and the words that you create and
the names. Oh,
the
God.
names and
we
like
hate
the meanings.
Coming up with names. Oh my God. I can't.
I just want to know.
How do you come up with that many languages? Okay, let's talk about it. She came up with languages, characters, continents, other worlds within the same world, time warping, gateways to other words, like,
which I mean,
magic of its own. Like,
it's a lot of like ideas thrown into one, which I love because I mean, all literature, no matter where you turn, all literature is all about taking and pulling things that other people have written,
right,
and creating your own. That's all it is.
Twisting it how it relates to what you want.
Originally, I mean, Sarah J. Maas has come out and talked about how A Court of Thorns and Roses is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast.
Right. Only better.
A twisted, like, right?
Right.
Which is so great. And I think eventually we're going to do the retelling of some of the Disney books that are out there. Because those are really good.
Yeah. And everyone loves Disney. Come on.
But, I mean, just... the pure genius.
Right.
Genius of these books.
Right.
It's
mind-boggling is what it is.
Honestly, I didn't think that I could be obsessed with another writer as much as I was, like...
With J.K. Rowling.
J.K. Rowling, or... I mean, for me, because I am, like, an English person, Shakespeare. I love Shakespeare. Which I know is a little weird, but I do. I didn't think...
I like Edgar Allan Poe.
I do like Edgar Allan Poe.
And I think that's why I like Sarah J. Maas so much, because Edgar Allan Poe was my first love, and he's so, like, dark.
He's so dark.
And there's so many, like, twisted meanings in all of this. And I think that's why I like Sarah J. Maas so much, is because I loved Edgar Allan Poe. That was the first. I have his book, the collection, like a total collection.
Joe has that book too.
Yep, I got it on hardback. I was like, ah.
That actually used to be the book that we stored. Joe would put like extra $100 bills in the pages. So
I wish mine had $100 bills in it. Like,
so that's where we used to like stack like extra cash.
just in case, if anyone ever gets into her house, check the Edgar Allan Poe book.
It's not there anymore. We done emptied that bitch out.
We need the money.
But that's what we used to hide our money in.
That's smart. I just hide my feelings in mine. Like, it's messed up. But anyways,
true book nerd right there.
Yeah, that's, you know.
So that's pretty much everything that we have for you. We kind of got off on a couple of tangents there, but hopefully you enjoyed that.
Right. If you can relate to those tangents, let us know.
Always remember, please subscribe, like, share, comment, all of those fun things.
Share with your friends.
We really want to get our followers more involved with conversation and talking to us and all of those types of things. If you haven't done so already, please follow us on Instagram. We're going to be uploading some new reels today. Holla!
Holla at us.
And that's at Dani Marie Collective. So, next time, Crown of Midnight.
You!